The backyard was buzzing with laughter when I heard it. My sister Marissa's voice cut through the chatter like a blade. It's adorable, really. Lena thinks her little hobby is a real business. Her co-workers erupted in laughter. I stood frozen behind the patio door, holding a plate of burgers I'd brought for the family barbecue. My hands trembled as I watched her gesture dramatically, mimicking someone typing on a keyboard. She makes custom jewelry in her garage. Can you imagine? She actually quit her job for this. More laughter. I pushed the door open and the sound died instantly. Everyone turned to stare. Marissa's smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. Oh, Lena. We were just talking about your cute little project. The way she said it made my stomach twist. I set the plate down carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. It's not a hobby, Marissa. It's my business. She laughed again, but it sounded forced now. Right. Your business. One of her co-workers shifted uncomfortably, phone still in hand. I didn't know it then, but she was recording everything. I made it to my car before the tears came. My hands shook so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. The humiliation burned through me like acid. I'd worked so hard, poured everything into my jewelry business, and she'd reduced it to a joke in front of strangers. My phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. You'll thank me one day for telling the truth. Someone needs to be honest with you. I stared at those words until they blurred. The truth. The truth was I'd made $3,000 last month. The truth was I had a waiting list of customers. The truth was I loved what I did more than anything I'd ever done before. But none of that mattered to her. I was still just her little sister playing pretend. I wiped my eyes and made myself a promise right there in that parking lot. This would be the last time I let her make me feel small. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to prove her wrong. The video appeared on TikTok 2 days later. I was working in my garage when my friend called. Her voice urgent. Lena, you need to see this. The clip showed everything. Marissa mocking me, the laughter, my face when I walked in. The caption read, "When your sister thinks she's better than everyone." Within hours it had 20,000 views. By evening it hit 100,000. The comments section exploded. People were defending me, calling Marissa a bully, sharing their own stories of unsupportive family members. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I felt exposed. Then something unexpected happened. A business influencer named Sarah Chen stitched the video. She had 2 million followers. This girl has potential, she said, pointing at my face on the screen. The way she held her composure. That's real strength. Mark my words, we'll be hearing about her business soon. My notifications went crazy. Marissa showed up at my house the next morning, pounding on my door before 7. I opened it to find her furious, still in her pajamas. Fix this, she demanded, shoving her phone in my face. The video had gone viral. 3 million views now. Fix what? I asked calmly, though my heart was racing. You embarrassed me. Everyone at work has seen this. My boss saw it. Do you know how this makes me look? I leaned against the doorframe. How does it make you look, Marissa? Her face went red. Like a terrible person. Like a bully. Then maybe you shouldn't have acted like one, I said quietly. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. We'd never fought like this before. I'd always backed down, always apologized, always made myself smaller. Not anymore. You're going to regret this, she hissed, turning to leave. You'll never make it without me. But as she stormed off, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. The orders started flooding in that afternoon. My email pinged constantly. My Etsy shop notifications wouldn't stop. People who'd seen the video wanted to support me, to prove that my business was real and worthwhile. By the end of the week, I had more orders than I'd received in the previous 6 months combined. My tiny garage workspace became chaos overnight. Supplies everywhere, packages stacked against the walls, my workbench buried under materials. I was working 16-hour days just to keep up. Then came the big order. Someone named Anonymous Supporter placed an order for 200 custom pieces. The total was $15,000. My hands shook as I read the order details. This was life-changing money. But something felt off. The specifications were weirdly complicated. The deadlines impossibly tight. The delivery address was a P.O. box with no name. I stared at the screen for a long time before accepting the order. I needed this. I needed to prove I could handle it. I spent 3 days working on the massive order before I got suspicious. The design requests kept changing. The customer kept adding complications. Every time I adjusted something, they'd email back with more modifications. Finally, I tracked the IP address of the emails. They were coming from Marissa's neighborhood. My stomach dropped. I called the P.O. Box facility. "I need to know who rented box 447, I said. "I'm sorry, that's confidential," the clerk replied. "Please. It's important. Someone's harassing me." There was a pause. "The name on file is Marissa Torres. My sister. She'd placed a fake order to stress me out, to make me fail." I canceled the entire order immediately and drove straight to her apartment. She answered the door with a smug smile. "Couldn't handle it?" she asked. "I'm doing you a favor, Lena. Quit now before you embarrass the family even more." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at her and said, "You're scared I might actually succeed." Her smile disappeared. Sarah Chen's DM came that night. "Hey Lena, I've been following your story. What you're building is special. I want to feature you on my page." I couldn't believe it. Sarah had over 2 million followers. Her features had launched dozens of small businesses into real success. "Why me?" Type back. "Because people love an underdog," she replied. "And because you're the real deal. I looked at your work. You're incredibly talented. Don't waste this moment." We scheduled a live interview for the following week. She'd showcase my jewelry, tell my story, link directly to my shop. "Be ready," she warned. "When this goes live, things are going to move fast." I spent the next 7 days preparing. I organized my garage, streamlined my production process, hired a friend to help with packaging. I created new designs specifically for the feature. I barely slept, running on coffee and determination. The night before the interview, I couldn't stop pacing. This was my shot. This was everything. The feature went live on a Tuesday morning. Within an hour, my shop was flooded with orders. Within 2 hours, I'd made more money than I'd made in the entire previous year. My phone couldn't keep up with the notifications. Sarah's followers loved the jewelry, but they loved the story more. The underestimated sister who kept going despite everything. By the end of the day, I'd broken every sales record I'd ever set. I was packaging orders until 3 in the morning, deliriously happy and exhausted. Then my email pinged with something different. The subject line read, "Meeting request, Grant Ellison, CEO of Ellison Enterprises." My heart stopped. Ellison Enterprises was huge. And Grant Ellison was Marissa's boss. The email was brief. "Ms. Torres, I've been following your story with interest. I'd like to discuss a potential business opportunity. Would you be available to meet at my office this Friday at 2? I read it 5 times before I could process it. Marissa's boss wanted to meet with me. Grant Ellison's office was on the 40th floor of the tallest building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. He stood when I entered, a tall man in his 50s with sharp eyes and an easy smile. "Lena Torres," he said, shaking my hand. "Thank you for coming." I was nervous but tried not to show it. "Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Ellison." "Grant, please." He gestured to a leather chair. "I imagine you're wondering why you're here." The thought crossed my mind. He laughed. "I've been looking for entrepreneurs with your particular combination of skills. Creative vision, business sense, and most importantly, resilience." He pulled up the viral video on his computer. "I saw this. And before you ask, yes, I know Marissa is your sister. She's worked here for 3 years." My stomach tightened. "Is this about her?" "This is about you," he said firmly. "I don't hire based on family connections. I hire based on talent. He leaned forward. Tell me about your business. I spent an hour telling him everything. How I'd started making jewelry as a hobby, how it grew into something more, how I'd quit my retail job to pursue it full-time, how everyone, including my family, thought I was making a huge mistake. Grant listened intently, asking detailed questions about my production process, my materials, my pricing strategy. He understood business in a way most people didn't. You know what impressed me most about that video? He asked finally. Not the jewelry, though it's beautiful. Not even your sister's behavior, though it was telling. It was your face when you walked in. He rewound to that moment. You were hurt, humiliated. But you didn't lash out. You didn't crumble. You stated a simple fact and walked away with dignity. He closed his laptop. That's the kind of person I want on my team. Your team. I'm expanding into the creative retail space. I need someone who understands craftsmanship, who can build brand identity from scratch, who knows how to connect with customers. Someone who's done it themselves. Grant's challenge was simple but terrifying. I had 48 hours to create a comprehensive showcase of my work, my vision, and my business plan. He wanted to see everything. My best pieces, my design process, my growth strategy, my understanding of market trends. If you can impress my executive team, he said, I'll offer you a position leading our new creative expansion division. I drove home in a daze. This was bigger than anything I'd imagined. Leading a division at Ellison Enterprises would change everything. But could I do it? Did I have what it took? Called Sarah Chin. This is insane, I told her. This is opportunity, she corrected. Don't overthink it. Show them what you showed me. Show them the real you. I worked through the night. I assembled my best pieces, created mood boards, wrote out my vision for where handmade craftsmanship fit in modern retail. I outlined expansion strategies, discussed sustainability, proposed partnership models with other artisans. By dawn, I had something I was proud of. Then I slept for 3 hours and got back to work. I was putting the final touches on my presentation when I heard glass breaking downstairs. My heart jumped. It was 2 a.m. Who would be here? I crept down the stairs and flipped on the garage light. Marissa stood there, frozen, surrounded by broken supplies. She'd knocked over an entire shelf of materials. What are you doing? I demanded. Her face was pale, guilty. I heard about your meeting with Grant. So you broke into my house. The door was unlocked. I just wanted to see what you were working on. That's all. But her hands were full of my presentation materials. My sample pieces. She'd been trying to destroy them. You're trying to sabotage me, I said, the realization hitting like ice water. Because you're afraid. Afraid of what? She snapped. Afraid that if I succeed with your boss, you'll look bad. Afraid that I might actually be better at this than you are at your job. She dropped the materials and stepped toward me. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, Lena. Everyone at work is talking about you now. About how I'm the mean sister. How you're this amazing entrepreneur. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at my sister standing in my garage at 2 a.m, surrounded by the evidence of her attempted sabotage, and felt something shift inside me. You can't stop what's already happening, I said quietly. Marissa's face crumpled. You don't know what it's like. I worked so hard to build my reputation at that company. And now everyone looks at me differently because of that stupid video. That stupid video showed everyone who you really are. I was just joking. I didn't mean to hurt you. Yes, you did, I said simply. You've been hurting me for years. Every dismissive comment, every eye roll, every time you called my business a hobby. You wanted me to feel small because it made you feel bigger. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. For the first time in our lives, she had nothing to say. I want you to leave, I told her. And I want you to know that I'm going to that meeting tomorrow. I'm going to give the best presentation of my life. Not despite you, but because of you. You taught me I don't need anyone's approval to succeed. The conference room was filled with executives when I arrived. Grant sat at the head of the table, flanked by his leadership team. I recognized the CFO, the VP of operations, the head of marketing. These were people who made million-dollar decisions every day. My hands were sweating as I set up my presentation. "Whenever you're ready," Grant said with an encouraging smile. I took a deep breath and began. I showed them my jewelry, explaining the craftsmanship behind each piece. I talked about the growing market for handmade goods, the desire for authentic, sustainable products. I outlined a vision for a creative retail division that would partner with artisans nationwide, creating a platform for handmade excellence. The executives asked tough questions. Director of Creative Expansion. The title hung in the air between us. This was real. This was happening. "Before you accept," Grant said carefully, "I need to be transparent about something. Marissa works in the marketing department. You'd be in different divisions, but you'd still be in the same company." He looked at me steadily. "If you take this role, things might get uncomfortable with your sister. Office dynamics can be complicated when family is involved." I thought about Marissa breaking into my garage just hours ago. About years of dismissiveness and mockery. About the way she tried to sabotage my biggest opportunity. "Things are already uncomfortable," I said. "But I'm not going to let that stop me from doing what's best for my career." Grant nodded. "I hoped you'd say that. But I wanted to make sure you understood what you're walking into." "I do," I assured him. "And I'm ready." The executives exchanged glances. The CFO spoke up. "Welcome to Ellison Enterprises, Director Torres." Director Torres. I'd never heard anything sweeter in my life. My first week at Ellison Enterprises was overwhelming in the best way. I had an office with a view, a team of 5 people reporting to me, a budget that made my head spin. But Marissa made her presence known immediately. The whispers started on day 3. People would stop talking when I walked by. I caught strange looks in meetings. Finally, the HR director, a woman named Patricia, called me into her office. "Lena, I need to show you something," she said, her expression serious. She turned her computer screen toward me. It was a series of screenshots from the company's internal messaging system. Marissa had been sending messages about me to various coworkers. "She's only here because of the viral video, not actual qualifications. Grant made a huge mistake. She's going to crash and burn. My sister is unstable. She's obsessed with getting attention." I read through them all, my stomach turning. "How many people did she send these to?" "Yes. At least 30 employees across multiple departments," Patricia said gently. "I'm documenting everything. This is creating a hostile work environment." Patricia handed me more screenshots. The messages went back weeks, starting even before I'd been hired. Marissa had been trying to poison people against me from the moment she heard about my meeting with Grant. "This one's particularly telling," Patricia said, pointing to a message from 2 weeks ago. In it, Marissa wrote, "Lena always had it easier. Mom and Dad let her do whatever she wanted while I had to work for everything. Now she's getting handed opportunities she doesn't deserve. It's not fair." I stared at those words. Easier. I'd built my business with my own hands, my own money, my own sleepless nights. I'd faced rejection and mockery and doubt. There was nothing easy about it. "She thinks I got the easy life," I said quietly. Patricia nodded. "Resentment like this usually goes deep. It's rarely about the present situation. It's about years of perceived injustice." I thought about our childhood. Marissa was always the high achiever, the one who got straight A's and won awards. I was the creative one, the dreamer. Our parents praised her differently than they praised me. Maybe she'd always felt like she had to prove herself. Maybe she saw my success now as unearned because it didn't follow her path. Grant called me into his office that afternoon. He'd seen the HR report. "This situation with Marissa has become untenable," he said. "I need to know how you want to proceed. We can address this through formal disciplinary channels if necessary." I thought carefully before answering. The old me would have said to let it go, to avoid confrontation. But I wasn't that person anymore. "I don't want her fired," I said finally. Grant looked surprised. I want her to see what real success looks like when it's earned, I continued. Not handed to you, not given because of family connections, but built through hard work and talent. If you fire her, she'll just blame me more. She'll never learn. Grant studied me for a long moment. That's remarkably mature of you. It's not about maturity, I said. It's about understanding that punishing her won't change how she sees me. Only my success will do that. He nodded slowly. All right, but she needs to understand that this behavior stops now. I'll have Patricia issue a formal warning. Any further incidents and she's gone. That's fair, I agreed. The company-wide meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon. Grant gathered everyone in the main conference room to announce several organizational changes. I sat in the front row, my heart racing. I knew what was coming, but it still felt surreal. Grant outlined the new Creative Expansion Initiative, explaining the vision and strategy. Then he said, I'm pleased to announce that Lina Torres will be leading this division as our new Director of Creative Expansion. The room erupted in polite applause. I stood and waved, trying to look confident. My eyes scanned the crowd and found Marissa sitting in the back, her face completely white. She looked like she might be sick. After the meeting, I was surrounded by well-wishers and colleagues wanting to introduce themselves. Through the crowd, I watched Marissa slip out the back door. I excused myself and followed her. I found her in the empty break room, staring out the window. Marissa, I said softly. She turned, and I was shocked to see tears streaming down her face. It was the first time I'd seen her cry since we were teenagers. Marissa wiped her face quickly, embarrassed. Come to gloat? No, I said honestly. I came to see if you're okay. How can I be okay? Her voice broke. Everyone in that room knows what I did. They all know I tried to sabotage my own sister. They all know I'm a terrible person. She sank into a chair. I always thought this would happen eventually. That you'd outshine me somehow. I've been terrified of it my whole life. I sat down across from her. Why? Because you're talented in ways I'm not. You create things. You see possibilities. I just follow rules and climb ladders. She looked at me with red eyes. I worked so hard to be successful, to make Mom and Dad proud. And you just casually built a business in your garage and became this amazing entrepreneur. It wasn't casual, I said quietly. I failed twice before this. I worked 16-hour days. I risked everything. But you loved it, she said. That's the difference. I don't love what I do. I just do it because I'm supposed to. We sat in silence for a moment. You made sure of it, I finally said. By trying to dim my light. Marissa nodded, accepting the truth. I know. And I'm sorry. Really, genuinely sorry. I believed her. For the first time, I actually believed her. We don't have to be enemies, I said. We're sisters. We can find a way forward. How? After everything I've done. You start by stopping. Stop comparing yourself to me. Stop seeing my success as your failure. We're on different paths, Marissa. That's okay. She looked at me with something like hope. Do you think we can really fix this? I think we can try, I said. But not at work. Professionally, we need boundaries. You're in marketing, I'm in creative expansion. We stay in our lanes. She nodded. And personally, you have a lot of rebuilding to do. Trust takes time to repair. But I'm willing to give you that time if you're willing to do the work. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet. But we'd started something. A conversation that might eventually lead to healing. The next 6 months were a whirlwind. I built my creative expansion division from the ground up. We partnered with 50 artisans nationwide, creating an online platform that showcased their work while providing business support and resources. My small jewelry business became the flagship example. I hired a team of 12 people, all passionate about supporting handmade craftsmanship. We launched with a huge marketing campaign, and the response was overwhelming. Revenue in the first quarter exceeded projections by 40%. Grant was thrilled. The board was impressed. My team was energized. I was working harder than I'd ever worked, but I loved every minute of it. I also maintained my own jewelry business on the side, though on a smaller scale. It reminded me where I'd come from, kept me grounded. Every piece I made was a reminder that I'd built this empire from nothing. Marissa and I were slowly rebuilding our relationship. We had lunch once a month, neutral territory outside the office. The conversations were awkward at first, but gradually became more genuine. She was working with a therapist on her resentment issues. One afternoon I found a letter on my desk. It was from Marissa, handwritten on nice stationery. "Dear Lena," it began. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this for months. I'm sorry feels too small for what I put you through, but it's where I have to start." She wrote about our childhood, about feeling like she always had to be perfect while I got to be creative and free. About how she internalized that as her being the serious one, the responsible one, the one who had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. "I see now that I was wrong," she wrote. "You worked just as hard, probably harder. You took risks I never had the courage to take. You built something from nothing while I was busy climbing someone else's ladder. I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I'm saying it now. You're an inspiration, little sister. Not because of your success, but because of your resilience. Because you kept going even when everyone, especially me, doubted you." The letter was imperfect and rambling in places, but it was real. It was Marissa actually trying to make things right. Kept it in my desk drawer. Grant called me into his office 6 months after I'd started. "I have something to tell you," he said, looking slightly uncomfortable. "Something I probably should have mentioned earlier." I sat down, curious. "I knew about your business before the viral video," he said. "Marissa used to talk about you sometimes. She'd mention her sister who was wasting time making crafts instead of getting a real job." My stomach tightened. "One day I asked to see your work. Just curious. She showed me your website, rolling her eyes the whole time." He smiled. "But I saw something she didn't. I saw talent. Real marketable talent. I saw someone who understood branding and customer connection." "Wait, you knew about me before?" "I started following your work months before that video went viral. I'd already decided to reach out when the right opportunity came. The video just accelerated the timeline." I sat back stunned. "So Marissa's mockery actually led you to discover me. Ironic, isn't it? She was trying to prove you were wasting your time. Instead, she brought you to my attention." I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The whole situation was absurdly perfect. All of Marissa's attempts to diminish me had ultimately led to my biggest opportunity. I stood on stage at Grant's annual company gala, looking out at 500 employees and their guests. Somewhere in that crowd was Marissa, who'd helped me pick out my dress. We weren't completely healed yet, but we were getting there. Grant had invited me to give the keynote speech about entrepreneurship and resilience. I talked about starting my business in my garage, about the failures and doubts, about the family barbecue where I was mocked, about building something anyway because I believed in it. "The people who doubt you today might celebrate you tomorrow," I said. "But don't build your dreams to prove them wrong. Build your dreams because they're yours. Because you can't imagine doing anything else." I looked directly at Marissa in the audience. She was crying but smiling too. "And remember this," I concluded. "Never underestimate the small business you mock. It just might be the empire you end up working for." The applause was thunderous. People stood. My team was cheering. Grant was beaming with pride. As I walked off stage, Marissa was waiting in the wings. She hugged me tight, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." And I believed her.